Okay. Let's see if we can get a Throwback Thursday done out here on the freeway heading to work. This story is going to be about one of the times I was assigned to light duty after coming back from an injury and before being released to go back to full active duty and go back on patrol. I was working the Northern Division, front desk officer under the Crimes Against Persons Division, and I was also assigned to enter the crime report information every day into the computer system. So whenever there was nobody coming in the front door to the counter, I had to go over and sit in front of the computer, go through the crime reports and enter all that information in. As I was doing that, I started noticing a pattern in the crime reports that had backed up for probably at least a week, maybe two, because nobody else had been doing it. And the suspect descriptions were similar. Suspect vehicle information were similar. And the crimes were all the same. And in the same area. At the same time. And what it was is this husband and wife would go to their local gas station, fill up with gas before going to work, and then drive off without paying. Now, this was before the gas stations required you to walk in and pay first, or put a credit card in. They trusted people back then to pump your gas, then come and pay. They don't do that anymore for obvious reasons. Anyways, as I entered all these little fragmented pieces of information on all these different crime reports, I would take the crime reports, set them off in a separate pile all by themselves. And I jot down notes on a piece of scratch paper. By the time I was done, I had about 3 dozen crime reports. I had the suspect description of both him and her and their 2 different vehicles. And I was able to develop full license plate numbers from the witnesses for both vehicles. Now I ran those license plates through the DMV. They came back registered to him and her. Got their address, everything else. I then requested copies of their driver's licenses for photos and got those. Well, after I was all done with that, I went and talked to the sergeant, who was in the head of that department, that division, the Crimes Against Persons Division. Explained to him what I got, showed him all the crime reports, all the different suspect descriptions and vehicle descriptions, the information I got from the DMV, the copies of the driver's license photos, and the witnesses and their phone numbers, so a detective could go out and contact them and do photo lineups and make a case against them and arrest them. Because being on light duty, I was not allowed to leave the station. I was not allowed to drive a patrol car. I was stuck at a desk. Well, he suggested that since I had done all this work on it already, why don't I try contacting the witnesses see if they come to the station to do the photo ID lineup and ID the suspects. So over the next week, that's what I did. And I had several witnesses come in, did photo lineups. They picked out the suspects. Everything was cool. I went, I told him that. Okay, so well, the next thing you can do is go ahead and try contacting the suspects. Because by now I had their names, addresses, phone numbers, you know, knew exactly where they lived and who they were and all that stuff. See if you can get them to come into the station. And if not, then we'll send a detective or patrol car over to pick them up. So I call them up on the phone, talk to them, you know, tell them who I am, tell them all this information I got, that I've got them ID'd for all these cases. And now they got two things they can do. Number one, they can voluntarily come into the station, talk to me about it. I'll do up the paperwork, send it off to the district attorney's office, and they will end up having to go to court on it. If they don't want to come in and talk to me, that's fine. I'll submit the paperwork to the district attorney's office, we'll get an arrest warrant, and we'll come out there and kick their front door in the middle of the night and drag their butts out of bed and haul them into jail. You make the choice. Well, they both agreed to come in and talk to me. And they came in, and I took them back to the interview room, and of course admonished them of their rights. Threw down the whole folder of crap in front of them and on the desk, and you know, told them, you know, you're pretty much screwed. Best thing you could do is confess and beg for mercy on the courts. Get yourselves a court-appointed lawyer and do the best you can. And that's exactly what happened. They confessed to all the crimes, admitted to all of them, did up all the reports. I released them OR on their own recognizance with a misdemeanor citation with a date to appear in court. Sent them on their way. Months later, they finally appeared in court and pled guilty to a bunch of them. Got it all, you know, reduced down because there were so many of them. But they did plead guilty, and they got stuck with a bunch of fines and community service and stuff. They didn't actually get any jail time, so it all worked out for them in the end. And it worked out for me in the end because I ended up getting a commendation for being so alert and spotting the crime trend and going the extra mile of doing all that work and figuring out who the suspects were, getting the information from the DMV, and calling in the witnesses, doing the photo lineups, having the suspects come in and confess. And when it was all done and I was done with my light duty assignment and ready to go back on the full active patrol, the sergeant who was in charge of that department told me if I ever wanted to move off the streets and into detectives, to let him know that he would make a spot for me, which I thought was really nice. Only problem with that is that the way the department rules were set up, if you were classified disabled to any certain extent, you are not eligible for any promotions. In order to get a promotion, you had to be able to pass the physical agility test 100% again and go through all that crap, that testing crap. I mean, I could have transferred over staying at the rank of a police officer second class, but I would not have been allowed to move up in ranks and become an actual detective. So I just stayed out on the street as long as I could, until they finally forced me into disability retirement because of all of my injuries. So there you go, that's that story about getting to work as a investigative aide, semi-quasi detective in the Crimes Against Persons Bureau in Northern Division. And getting one of the many commendations that I received during my career, my short career as a police officer. Hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, hit the like button, give me some comments, subscribe, and come back for some more. See you next time. Bye-bye.